Hey there, everybody. Dr. Coletti, Baywest Health and Rehab. Many of you are going to or about to read the my recent blog on hip pain, and typically hip pain isn't always coming from those people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You can be into your early 30s and 40s depending on the level of activity you had or when you were younger, and how degenerative a hip can become. Because as I try to relate to all patients through all these videos that I do in blogs, pain comes from inflammation. If you can get those things through your head, you're going to be or have a greater understanding, and not from what I'm telling you, but just in general. If something hurts, especially if it's a joint, and there is pain, it is coming from some inflammation. The question therein lies is, well, why is it inflamed, or why is it inflamed in a chronic state, or why is it inflamed in just from an acute standpoint? Well, if you just fell out of a tree and your hip hurts, that's an acute phase inflammation and swelling in your hip, hence your hip hurts. If you've had a slow onset of hip pain and it's just accrued and accrued and accrued with no trauma, though maybe perhaps trauma years ago, but let's talk the chronic state. Your hip starts to hurt, but no immediate or more recent of trauma. It's inflammation in the hip, and how are we going to help that? Well, chiropractic in general can create some balance if there's some balance issues. But what happens if you have pretty good balance, or perhaps maybe you've been to a chiropractor and that hip pain is still hanging in there? Well, that's what kind of separates us here at Baywest Health and Rehab with our cold laser protocols is hip pain. If imbalanced through chiropractic and through balance, that's great. But you need to do something if there's a degenerative condition creating chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation, especially to those patients that I see a lot of that have already had injections. They are too old for surgery, or frankly, they're not quite bone on bone and they're not a surgical candidate yet, or frankly, they just don't want to have surgery yet. There are answers to that, and our cold laser protocols can really help that out. But I can get through that or back to that at a different time. I just wanted to share a bit of our most recent blog that you'll be reading, and I hope you do get to read that. I hope it enlightens your mind. Share it if you will. Don't be shy. Dr. Coletti commenting here in Newport Richey, Tampa, Florida, Clearwater, Pinellas County, Pasco County, all of these areas. If you're complaining of hip pain, come see me. I am out.